The astonishing global power and influence of the inner circle. The fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down, and break it in pieces. And the 10 horns out of this kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise. Daniel 7:23-24. The 10, so-called wise men of the Illuminati are fabulously rich. Still, they want more, and more. Texi Mars. Cloaked in mystery and shrouded in secrecy, the inner circle is comprised of 10 powerful men. These men meet regularly at least twice per year in a secluded location. Their proceedings take place in a locked and sealed suite at a swank and exclusive resort hotel, or at a private estate owned by one of their minions. Their policy, decisions and agenda, kept top secret, result in the most dire and grievous consequences for ordinary citizens. Wars, revolutions, scientific discoveries, diseases, famines, financial booms and crashes, these are some of the life-giving or life-destroying decisions made at their confidential sessions. The future of planet Earth and its almost 6 billion inhabitants is plotted out in the dark recesses of the minds and hearts of these 10 cruel men. Most Americans know little or nothing of the existence of the inner circle and are totally oblivious to its grand design. But those few who are aware refer to these men in awe-inspiring tones. They are said to be the lords of wisdom, the custodians of the plan, the torch bearers, the unknown men, the wise men, the keepers of the royal secret, or even cryptically as the one. In Circle of Intrigue, I introduce them under their actual title, the Inner Circle. The Inner Circle is the core group which has long guided the destiny of the Illuminati conspiracy. Led by spirit beings from another dimension, a grotesque and shadowy otherworld, the elitists of the Inner Circle are the masterminds, the organizers, and the board of directors of a gigantic and far-flung empire. It is an empire which transcends international borders and closely coordinates the efforts of thousands of the planet's best known and most influential politicians, bankers, corporate executives, social engineers, and religious leaders. Mystical guardians of a holy secret. Fabulously wealthy, enormously privileged, and vastly separated socially from the masses whom they consider to be peasants and useless eaters, the men of this clandestine inner circle revel in their mental, spiritual, and racial superiority. When they meet, they deem their coming together to be an assemblage of the gods. They claim to be mystical guardians of a great and holy secret, involving royal bloodlines and supernatural birthright. As they view it, their supposed higher nature and their extraordinary origins confer on them the responsibilities of noblesse oblige. They are convinced it is their obligation and right to be divine rulers of all mankind. Over the centuries, these arrogant and haughty men have banded together, amassing untold wealth and material treasures. With their combined wealth has come tremendous clout and the ability to reward friends and allies and to punish enemies. Greedy and wicked, believing themselves to be beyond good and evil, the men of the inner circle wantonly contract out the assassination of enemies. They also ruthlessly bring into line courageous men and women who refuse to accede to their foul agenda. Wayward servants like John F. Kennedy, who become rebels and lone rangers, as well as desperate men like mafia associate Jack Ruby and millionaire publisher Robert Maxwell, are dealt with harshly and efficiently. President Kennedy and, later, his brother, Robert, were dispatched with bullets to the head. Lee Harvey Oswald's slayer, Jack Ruby, was injected with cancer-causing carcinogens while in a jail cell awaiting trial, and the flamboyant Maxwell was taken for a cruise on his yacht, beaten and thrown overboard in a shark-infested sea. The men of the inner circle are reprobates, they have no remorse for their crimes against humanity and rebellion against God. They feel no guilt. They are thoroughly wicked and satanic, as their perverse worship of Lucifer as Father of Light amply demonstrates. A single, spidery thread. For 9 momentous and event-filled years I have been tracking this evil inner circle of wickedness. I have meticulously traced its close-knit network of stooges, puppets, operatives, and agents, and have been saddened to discover that, like a nightmarish octopus from the depths of a sulphurous, boiling and hellish ocean floor, its sin-scarred, gaping tentacles reach even into the corridors of the White House. Indeed, they lead us straight into the Oval Office of the President of the United States of America. A single, spidery thread can be traced, originating from the lair of the inner circle and spreading its slick, sickly web across national borders into the musty halls and chambers of the Kremlin, deep inside the ornate apartments of the Vatican, and within the paneled confines of the boardrooms of corporate America and its Fortune 500. The inner circle maintain their great power by inventing chaos and inducing conflict, bloodshed, and carnage. They control the intelligence agencies, internal security police, and armed forces of the world's superpowers. And they do not hesitate to call on these groups when necessary to restore a delicate equilibrium and to create order out of chaos. Indeed, as we shall see, ordo ab chao, Latin for order out of chaos, is one of the most revered dictums and operating laws of these scheming men and their hierarchy of evil. In Bible prophecy is revealed the awesome military and police power of the end times, beast system that shall rise up in the last days. Today's emerging New World Order, with its capability for rapid delivery of armaments, aircraft, ships, nuclear-tipped and tomahawk missiles, laser weaponry, and other high-tech tools of warfare to precise targets anywhere on Earth, chillingly matches the prophetic picture of global dominance given in the book of Daniel. Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth kingdom upon earth, which shall be diverse from all kingdoms, and shall devour the whole earth, and shall tread it down, and break it in pieces. And the 10 horns out of the kingdom are 10 kings that shall arise, and another shall rise after them, and he shall be diverse from the first, and he shall subdue 3 kings. Daniel 7:23-24. The 10 kings to devour the earth. Notice that, in Bible prophecy, we are told that in the last days, 10 kings shall arise. They will set up a global kingdom and by force they will devour the whole earth. I believe these 10 kings are the 10 men of the Illuminati's inner circle. And, indeed, their influence is global. Through analysis of inside information collected from reliable sources and collated with corroborating intelligence data, I have been able to calculate what I believe is the ethnic and geographic composition of this exclusive inner circle of the Illuminati. Currently, its 10 members appear to be divided by nation as follows: USA 2 members, Canada 1 member, France 3 members, Austria 1 member, Great Britain 1 member, Spain 1 member, South Africa 1 member. As you can see, the United States has 2 seats on this 10-member panel of supreme elitists. Neighboring Canada provides a 3rd member. However, 6 members are from the same geographic and cultural region, Greater Europe, the so-called European Community. The 10th and final member is from South Africa. My investigation further reveals that the Rothschild family lays claim to 3 seats, and the Rockefeller dynasty holds 2 coveted seats on the inner circle. Later in this book, I will profile the reigning nobility of these 2 incredible dynasties and also take a close-up look at other candidates for the prestigious inner circle of the Illuminati. It would appear that the dynastic bloodlines of Europe, the Rothschilds, Habsburgs, etc., have a distinct advantage based simply on their numerical superiority. However, this is far from the case. In fact, it is significant that none of the 10 men of the inner circle profess first allegiance to their own nation-state. They are pure globalists, planetary citizens. They are also, uniformly, worshippers of a deity who is not circumscribed by national borders or limited by geographic considerations. Revealingly, the men of the inner circle view themselves as descendants of a historic heritage, with human roots going back at least to Greece, Rome, Egypt, and Babylon, and spiritual origins curiously attributed to a pre-Adamic state of existence. Moreover, they believe themselves to be heirs of a royal bloodline destined to rule the earth for all eternity. Titans of money and finance. Evidence I have accumulated indicates that the inner circle and its immediate entourage of deputies and assistants is constantly working behind the scenes, pulling strings in the highest levels of governments. They manipulate stock, bond, currency, precious metals, and agricultural/commodity markets, transferring wealth, arranging promotions for favored associates, and merging the resources of huge, multinational, industrial conglomerations. For example, in the early 1990s, France's Lord Rothschild joined forces with a Wall Street investment banker, the Australian-born billionaire James D. Wolfensohn, creating an $18 billion consortium. Though a huge sum, it is, however, only a tiny portion of the wealth available to men like Rothschild and Wolfensohn. To oversee this particular enterprise, the two financiers engaged the services of American Paul Volcker, former chairman of the United States Central Bank, the Federal Reserve. The choice of Volcker to become the CEO for James D. Wolfensohn, Inc., demonstrates how the influence of the Rothschild name causes ripples everywhere in the world, including the Federal Reserve banking system of the United States of America. Significantly, shortly before this joint, transnational venture, Mr. Volcker had been sent over to Moscow to serve as banking advisor to Russia in the setting up of that country's equivalent of the Federal Reserve. We may properly assume that Volcker supervised the transfer and merger of Russia's financial institutions in accordance with instructions from the Illuminati's International Monetary Fund, IMF, and its premier lending institution, the World Bank, connected with the United Nations. 2. But wait, the story's not over. In mid-1995, it was announced that James D. Wolfensohn had been nominated by his comrade, U.S. President Bill Clinton, to head the same World Bank. Dutifully, Mr. Wolfensohn was confirmed for this post by the internationalists, and so a Rothschild puppet is now president of the World Bank. 3. Previously, this institution, a key part of the Illuminati's worldwide financial apparatus, had been headed by Robert Strange McNamara. And to make my point about sordid, never-ending, spider web connections, let it be noted that before his tenure at the World Bank, McNamara was America's Secretary of Defense under Presidents Kennedy and Johnson. Oh, yes, Mr. McNamara also just happens to be a member of the Council on Foreign Relations, the Trilateral Commission, the Lucas Trust, and the Bilderbergers Illuminati groups, all 4. Moneybag revolutionaries. Almost every mass movement is begun at the instigation of the inner circle, though the liars and collaborators of the media and press depict all events and movements as spontaneous and incidental. Artificial crises spring up almost overnight and immediately become the focus of attention by the politicians, the bureaucrats, the media, and the social engineers. In recent years we have witnessed movement after movement and crisis after crisis, all pre-planned and carried out exactly on schedule. When the men of the inner circle give the word, millions of dollars suddenly are made available, going swiftly into the coffers of environmental crazies, feminist weirdos, occultic priests, and Eastern gurus, socialist schemers, healthcare system framers, and virus inventing laboratories. Funding, media promotion, scholarly assistance, and business acumen have also been showered on liberal and conservative think tanks, religious left and religious right organizations, churches and ministries, radical neo-Nazi cells, homosexual lobbying and activist networks, civil rights organizations, and gun control groups. Massive amounts of money have also been allotted to One World and globalist groups, foundations, and organizations such as World Federalists, World Goodwill, and the United Nations and its agencies, plus the Masonic orders and the many secret societies. Particular attention has been paid to making sure that Illuminati front groups have the money and resources necessary, not just to influence, but to overwhelmingly control the political flow and economic process of the nations. The top leadership of the United States government and its higher-level bureaucracies and agencies is Staffed almost exclusively by committees and executive managers of the New York-based Council on Foreign Relations. Commerce and trade between the three most powerful regional groupings of nation-states America, Asia, and Europe is arranged behind closed doors during executive sessions of the Trilateral Commission and the Bilderbergers. Meanwhile, policy, administrative, and financial decisions affecting the lives and fortunes of literally billions of global citizens are made at the World Economic Forum, an annual affair of the insiders conducted in Davos, Switzerland. 5. Illuminati bigwigs also meet regularly at the Bohemian Grove in San Francisco, where paganistic ceremonies are interspersed with frenetic homosexual activity, political speeches, and economic deal-making. 6. Reward and punishment. Much of the world's business affairs are conducted at lower levels by underlings and puppets. However, these men and women follow closely the guidelines set in advance by the men of the inner circle. Indeed, bureaucrats and corporate officials deviate from the prescribed format and agenda only at deep peril and risk to their own political careers and personal fortunes. The performances of their subordinates are reviewed periodically. Analyses and reports go to the inner circle, and changes are often made in government and finance according to the results. An associate like Margaret Thatcher, who fails, say, to toe the line in promoting the proposed European Union to native Brits, is removed from her high position as England's Prime Minister while a servant. Such as Bill Clinton, who succeeds in slam-dunking inner circle projects such as NAFTA and get through a bulky U.S. Congress, is generously praised and rewarded. If deemed essential, an unworthy, disloyal, or incompetent servant is dealt with in a most convincing fashion. President Richard Nixon quickly fell from power and was disgraced because his two top lieutenants, Bob Haldeman and John R. Klichman, failed to bow down and kiss the rings of the Illuminati insiders. 7. The Illuminati's mouthpiece liberal press, especially the New York Times, did the dirty work in ousting Nixon from office while associates in Congress wielded the axe. President Ronald Reagan, on the other hand, went smoothly along with the elitists' plans, made no fuss, did exactly what he was told, and survived 2 full terms in style. The fate of President George Bush was sealed on October 16, 1992, when the New York Times, an establishment-owned press, carried a full-page interview with David Rockefeller, Jr., the rising titan of the Rockefeller bloodline. In that interview, Illuminatus David Rockefeller strongly endorsed Bush's Democrat Party opponent, Arkansas Governor Bill Clinton, for the office of president. 8. The incumbent president knew the jig was up, that the inner circle had decided to elevate a younger, equally as faithful, servant to the presidency to replace a tiring and older patrician, George Herbert Walker Bush. In the following weeks prior to the November national election, bewildered pundits noted that Bush ran a lackluster political campaign. He barely put forth a lame effort. During one presidential debate, a downcast George Bush nervously looked at his wristwatch, as if to say, "What am I doing here wasting my time?" George Bush, nevertheless, has served the inner circle faithfully his entire life and continues to do so. As I chronicle and document in my book, Dark Majesty, after graduating from Yale University in 1948. As a bonusman, Order of Skull and Bones, Chapter 322, Yale University, Bush launched out on his CIA adventure. He was indirectly involved in the JFK assassination as a CIA case officer, stationed out of Dallas, Texas. 9. After a brief stint in the U.S. Congress as a Republican from Houston, Texas, during which he introduced a bill to create and merge the USA into a United Nations world government, George Bush went on to serve the inner circle as director of the CIA, vice president of the United States, and, finally, as president. Unquestionably, Bush's legendary acts in pursuing the Persian Gulf War, experimenting on our troops with deadly viruses and toxins, co-sponsoring and forging a new world order with Russia's Mikhail Gorbachev, and introducing China's aging, red communist elite to the glorious advantages of Illuminati membership, make him an honored senior servant. Since his retirement, Bush has been generously rewarded. He's received millions of dollars in fees and commissions, doing such tasks as speaking at a reception for the Reverend Sun Myung Moon and being a goodwill emissary to Vietnam for major oil companies. 10. Their master's voice, servants of the Illuminati. I have always been intrigued and amused by the old RCA Victor logo, which pictured a bewildered dog with its head cocked toward a loudspeaker, listening intently. The logo came with the phrase, his master's voice. How much in common the Illuminati's servants have with the RCA Victor canine. Whatever their master, the inner circle, says, they always have their head cocked and their ears wide open. Not to mention their pocketbooks. In the appendix, I provide the names, nationalities, and positions of a number of the servants of the Illuminati's inner circle. Also indicated is their membership in Illuminati front groups, such as the Council on Foreign Relations, CFR, the Trilateral Commission, TLC, and the Bilderbergers. You'll find, for example, President Bill Clinton's name prominently listed. Clinton is an Illuminatus par excellence, though, compared to the distinguished 10 men of the inner circle, he is only a lower level functionary and lackey. Nevertheless, his ruthlessness, demonstrated lack of morals, and devotion to their deity, Lucifer, has earned Clinton membership in such elite groups as the CFR, TLC, and the Bilderbergers. In 1987, the president, a senior de Molay, Mason, was chosen by Scottish Rite Freemasonry as the de Molay organization's International Alumnus of the Year. Incidentally, the de Molay, a Masonic youth organization, is named after Jacques de Molay, the Frenchman who once served as Grand Master of the corrupt Knights Templar, a precursor group to today's global Masonic order. In 1314, Jacques de Molay was tried and convicted of blasphemy and treason. Among the accusations against him, that he and his Templars worshipped Baphomet, the satanic, androgynous goat god of Gnosticism. 11. De Molay was also found guilty of homosexual perversions and of the blasphemous act of urinating on a crucifix of Christ. What a fitting tribute, then, for Illuminatus Bill Clinton to be honored for his contributions to the de Molay organization. 12. Other servants of the inner circle of the Illuminati are Vice President A.I. Gore and former Vice President Dan Quayle. Gore is a Democrat and Quayle a Republican, proving the old adage that, as far as the Illuminati are concerned, there's not a dime's worth of difference between the two political parties. Indeed, as we shall see, a key component of the secret doctrine of the Illuminati is the chaos theory of conflict between opposites. The Illuminati are masters at creating their own fake opposition. When real opposition arises, the Illuminati moves swiftly to preempt or co-opt the opposition forces, using money or political influence as a leverage. In the case of Al Gore, the man from Tennessee was a longtime beneficiary of the late multimillionaire and industrialist, Armand Hammer. Hammer pumped big bucks into the lustful political ambitions of, first, former U.S. Senator Albert Gore, Sr., and now his son, Vice President Al Gore, Jr. The Gores are proprietary property of the Illuminati's inner circle. 13. Dan Quayle, too, is an Illuminati creation. Not smart enough or sufficiently talented to make it on his own, Mr. Quayle's solid Masonic and Rockefeller connections did the trick. In 1990, Quayle was privileged to join the elite at a Bilderberger gala in Long Island, New York. 14. In 1995, Dan Quayle acknowledged and thanked Illuminatus Lawrence Rockefeller for his contributions to Quayle's success. You can find a rather quaint, but significant, acknowledgement by Quayle of Lawrence Rockefeller's contributions in Quayle's ghostwritten autobiography, Standing Firm, which perhaps should have been titled Standing Firm with My Moneyed Friends, the Rockefellers. 15. Many servants are found in the religious realm, as well. The so-called religious right is heavily funded by Illuminati sources. Many of America's most famous conservative Christian evangelists, as well as New Age gurus, occult leaders, and the liberal churchmen of the World Council of Churches and the National Council of Churches, are blessed with money and other material benefits, courtesy of the Illuminati's inner circle. 16. A fascist world order. The corporate world is especially seeded with Illuminati puppets and beneficiaries. The ranks of such groups as the Bohemian Grove, the Bilderbergers, the Council on Foreign Relations, the Skull and Bones Society, and the Trilateral Commission are swollen with the names of corporate chairmen, presidents, and CEOs. Among the major executives holding membership in one or more of these elite organizations are the heads of the following multinational corporations: Xerox, General Electric, General Motors, Prudential Insurance, Allied Chemical, Standard Oil of California, Texaco, Mobil Oil, Atlantic Richfield Oil, ITT, AT&T, Nations Bank, IBM, PepsiCo, Fiat, First City Bank Corp, Bechtel, Banque de France, Siemens, John Wiley & Sons, Goldman, Sachs & Co., Shell Petroleum, Seagram's Distilling, Mellon Bank, Chrysler Motors, NBC TV, CBS TV, ABC TV, Exxon, Southern California Edison, Ryder Systems, American Express, Bank of America, Time Warner, Times Mirror Co., John Hancock Mutual, Ninex Corp., Morgan Stanley Group, Bank, Boeing Aircraft, Levi Strauss, Quaker Oats. We could go on and on listing the men who have treacherously sold their country down the river by their affiliation with and support for the globalist goals of the Illuminati, as evidenced by their membership in its branch organizations. This corrupted, interwoven, and incestuous relationship between the federal government and the corporate community, both under control of Illuminati bigwigs, is prima facie proof that America has become a fascist nation. Move over Mussolini and Hitler, here we come. While Mussolini and Hitler were able to establish authority in only a dozen or so conquered nations in Europe and Africa, the empire of the Illuminati spans the 7 continents of the globe. The men of the inner circle intend to keep it that way and are continually tightening their already iron-like grip on the world's commercial, corporate, and financial resources. To accomplish their aim of dictatorial control, they are setting up international agencies empowered with vast regulatory authority that cuts across national lines. The World Trade Organization is formed. One recent example is the formation of the World Trade Organization, WTO, headquartered in Geneva, Switzerland. A banker allied with the Inner Circle, Ireland's Peter D. Sutherland, former chairman of Allied Irish Bank, was appointed as Director General of GATT, General Agreement on Tariffs and Taxes, to oversee the organizing of the WTO. After the onerous GATT bill was crammed down the throats of U.S. citizens thanks to Illuminati servants Clinton, Dole, and Gingrich, the Inner Circle chose an Italian banker and politician, the suave Renato Ruggiero, to head the WTO. America's financial sovereignty now ominously lies in the hands of an Italian conspirator, working for 10 of the most wicked men on planet Earth, the men of the Illuminati's inner circle. 17. Significantly, Peter D. Sutherland and Renato Ruggiero, like their American counterpart, Bill Clinton, are members of the Bilderbergers, a group of 125 influential money men, corporate chieftains, and allied politicians tied to Illuminati interests. Illuminati influence in higher education. It is not only the corporate overlords who are intently listening to their master's voice. Illuminati influence reigns supreme on university campuses. For example, at the University of Oklahoma, former U.S. Senator David Boren serves as president. In the Senate, Boren was a socialist-oriented Democrat. He also is a patriarch of the Order of Skull and Bones and a member of the traitorous CFR. Meanwhile, we find that Tomas Abel, president of California State University, is CFR, so is Bernard Warren, President of City University of New York, and so are the heads of such distinguished institutions as Columbia, Cornell, Fordham, Georgetown, Duke, Harvard, MIT, Michigan, and Texas. The Illuminati's Green Team. Environmental groups seem to have armies of green volunteers. But dig deep, as one researcher did, and you discover the pervasive Illuminati influence lurking beneath the surface. Indeed, the environmental movement was founded, organized, and is now run by the inner circle of the I-11 Illuminati. No wonder such environmental heavies as Kathy Fuller, president of the World Wildlife Fund, is a member of the Council on Foreign Relations. Maurice Strong, chairman of the United Nations Environmental Program, is a member of the World Economic Forum, an Illuminati financial group, which meets once each year in the tiny resort community of Davos, Switzerland, to help decide the world's financial future. The seedy realm of global banking and finance and the bizarre campaign to save our Mother Earth join hands in one of Maurice Strong's creations, the World Conservation Bank. This Illuminati entity was co-founded in the late 1980s by Strong, Baron Edmund de Rothschild, James Baker, Bush's Secretary of State, and David Rockefeller, sister currently, Clinton's Secretary of Interior, Bruce Babbitt, is working under the control of this World Conservation Bank. Its purpose is to force poor and impoverished Asian, African, South, and Central American countries strapped by debt to relinquish title to millions of acres of valuable and prime, virgin lands to the bankers. In exchange, their huge loan balances at exorbitant interest rates are forgiven. The objective of this fascist project is to transfer virtually all the world's remaining lands to the control of the Illuminati through its bogus World Conservation Bank. Thus, global-wide production of oil, precious metals, diamonds, timber, and other resources can be restricted, keeping prices at artificial highs. Since the Rothschilds, Rockefellers, and other dynasties now own the giant, multinational corporations which produce oil, timber, and other valuable commodities, this successful scam to lock up all remaining lands via the World Conservation Bank means trillions of dollars in future profits for the Illuminati. 18. Media flunkies. Want to know why the media as a whole are so vehemently anti-America first, pro-Marxist, and unpatriotic? You need look no further than the membership rolls of the Illuminati front groups for an illuminating explanation. Richard Smith, editor-in-chief and president of Newsweek, is CFR, so are the brass at US News and World Report, Time, Vanity Fair, Atlantic Monthly, The New Yorker, and most other top magazines. To ensure that the conservative side of publishing is also controlled, the CFR claims the heads of such magazines as American Spectator, Forbes, Financial World, and Reader's Digest. William F. Buckley, infamous publisher of the National Review, is a fake conservative who has served the inner circle well as a CIA operative. Buckley is also currently a member of the CFR. In the newspaper field, our eyes roll when we discover the fix is in there, too. The publishers of the New York Times, Los Angeles Times, Minneapolis Star-Tribune, Wall Street Journal, and the Washington Post are all members of the CFR. Many of these newspaper publishing Goliaths are trilateralists and Bilderbergers to boot. In the TV world, we are perhaps not surprised to find that its top executives are also devoted members of Illuminati organizations. Even the news anchors at CBS, NBC, ABC, CNN, and PBS are initiated as token members of the CFR, the Trilateral Commission, and other notorious groups. Prime Time's Diane Sawyer is CFR, so is 2020th CO host Barbara Walters. Evening news anchors Dan Rather, CBS, Tom Brokaw, NBC, and Peter Jennings, ABC, are CFR stooges, along with 60 Minutes Ed Bradley and ABC News John Scally. And we wonder why our TV news programs are packed with so much socialist, politically correct, and un-American garbage. The greed factor. Why would legions of bankers, businessmen, educators, and media Executives so enthusiastically join hands with these elite representatives of the devil, and so readily agree to subvert democracy and undermine American sovereignty? I believe the answer can only be greed. Greedy men can never have enough. The Bible states that the love of money is the root of all evil. The 10 so-called wise men of the Illuminati are fabulously rich. They own the planet's gigantic industries and financial combines and hold title to untold millions of acres of fertile lands and natural resources. Still, they want more and more. How profound, therefore, is this statement from God's word, found in Proverbs 27:20, hell and destruction are never full, so the eyes of man are never satisfied.